The next Mortal Kombat game, what I know for sure, what I'm mostly certain about, and some speculation to end things off. Since it's rumored that NetherRealm is already working on the next game, and since WB confirmed they're focusing on Mortal Kombat games going forward, let's discuss what the next game will be like. Today's video will cover the gameplay, story, and characters too. So without any further ado, let's begin. Starting off with what I know for sure. Number 1, no cameo system. Everyone who hates this new mechanic can breathe a sigh of relief, because it's not going to be in the sequel, and that's an absolute fact. Not only because plenty of players are complaining about it, but also because every Mortal Kombat game plays differently from the past game. Mortal Kombat 11 was way different than Mortal Kombat X, and Mortal Kombat 1 was way different than Mortal Kombat 11. And the same thing is going to be true for the sequel, so as a result, we know the cameo system is not going to return. At the very worst, they might return in an optional game mode, but even that possibility is very unlikely to happen. I'm talking like 90% it's not going to happen. So if any of you watching have that one friend who really hates the cameo system and won't stop complaining about it, then let them know they can rest easy. It's not going to be in the next game. The cameo boogeyman they hate so much, that monster in the closet and under the bed, is not going to return. But real quick in the comments, let me know which mechanic you would like in the next Mortal Kombat game. For me personally, I definitely want the run mechanic to return. It helps keep the match engaging to play and also very fun to watch. But also, I'm tired of watching opponents backdash cancel and just run away the whole match. You can't do that if the game has a run. In fact, I hope NetherRealm makes it even easier to perform the run, so instead of having to dash and then hold block, just make it a single button press, like preferably left trigger since that button never does anything useful anyway. I think a lot of players miss the run mechanic and hope that it returns in the next Mortal Kombat game, but like mentioned earlier, let me know in the comments which mechanic you want in the next Mortal Kombat game. So if the next NetherRealm game is most likely a Mortal Kombat sequel, then what would the roster look like? Well, I definitely think the cancelled Kombat Pack 3 characters would be there, and I mean there on launch day, as in they will be playable on the base roster from day one in the Mortal Kombat sequel. So if any of you watching are a Jade fan, then get excited, because she is very likely to return. And the same is true for other cancelled characters like Nightwolf, Kotal Khan, and possibly more recent characters like Kung Jin and even Cassie Cage, because many of them were planned as DLC in Mortal Kombat 1. But there's one more very big reason these characters are likely to return. Even if NetherRealm hadn't started the beta phase on these characters, they definitely planned out their gameplay in good detail, as well as their new story and their personality, etc. So it would be a massive waste to just toss that all into the garbage when they could use those templates for the next game. And if I'm being honest, they likely did already begin gameplay on these characters. And I say that because I've literally seen gameplay screenshots for the unreleased guest character in Mortal Kombat 1. Could they have been fake images? Possibly. But the former employee literally had them on his phone and never posted them anywhere else, so I think they most likely were legit. And if the final character for Kombat Pack 3 was already being tested in the game, then that means Jade and the other unrevealed characters were likely being tested as well. So once again, I think these unreleased characters are very likely to be in the next game on launch day. But here comes the really interesting part. Brand new characters. That's right, the next Mortal Kombat game will actually have new characters, unlike in Mortal Kombat 1, where every single character already existed in a past game. So that's definitely something to get excited about and look forward to, since new characters are always interesting to play and fun to learn about. I know some might say that NetherRealm's new characters are bad, but I would argue they're usually good. Even Devora had great gameplay and fun story potential, but NetherRealm writers made everyone hate her. And then of course we have fan favorites like Kotal Khan and Aaron Black and even Cassie Cage to an extent. A lot of these new characters made by NetherRealm are beloved by the fans. So as a result, I'm excited for the next Mortal Kombat game because we're definitely going to get new characters this time around. Which is why I really hope that NetherRealm finally tries to mix things up with different body types. My fingers are crossed. Give us some big body characters and some smaller characters, mix it up with different hitboxes, instead of having everyone be the same size roughly. But what about the story? This might be the most interesting topic to discuss. Will NetherRealm keep the new era going, or will they revert to the original timeline? Honestly, I think it could go either way, but if I called the shots at NetherRealm, I'd go back to the old timeline, or possibly merge them both together somehow. That way we can have classic Scorpion, but keep the new Reptile and Baraka characters. Oh, and Empress Melina, because I think her Dr. Jackal and Miss Hyde dynamic is very fun. Many of the new era depictions are better than the original versions, but at the same time, many classic versions are better too. So if NetherRealm could somehow find a way to combine both timelines, that could be the best option. It would make the fans more happy, but also give the new era one last game before getting deleted forever. Now this next part is just my opinion, but I hate when fighting game developers immediately backtrack instead of trying to improve the game. For example, Soul Calibur 5 tried something really new, but then just rebooted things immediately. And if we go further back, Third Strike had a similar situation. It had a bunch of new characters and villains too, but then removed them all in the sequel. And it would take years for these characters to return. And once again, I'm just not the biggest fan of this personally. I wish developers would give it one more game and just try to make the new characters work with the old characters. So even though Mortal Kombat 1 is a new story and does miss the mark in some areas, I also think that it has tons of potential, which is why I would prefer if it lasted for one more game. But with that all said, I would not lose any sleep if the series did revert, since I do miss many of those old characters. And let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. What do you think the story will be like in the next Mortal Kombat game? Is the new era going to continue, get deleted, or will NetherRealm mix it up somehow? I once joked that Mortal Kombat 1 was created solely to make fans yearn for the old games and timeline. That way, NetherRealm could bring it back and get the fans more excited than ever. And once again, that was a joke, but lately I'm wondering if NetherRealm was actually going for that. Now real quick, I know what many of you are thinking. What about Injustice 3? Unfortunately, I think it's most likely not going to happen, because as mentioned earlier, WB has confirmed that Mortal Kombat is a main game they're focusing on going forward, along with Harry Potter games, Batman games, and Game of Thrones games. So since WB already confirmed they're focusing on Mortal Kombat games going forward, it's very unlikely that NetherRealm is working on Injustice 3 right now. But then on top of that, James Gunn is now in charge of DC related stuff, so he might not like the Injustice series colliding with his vision of the DC image going forward. I understand that technically James Gunn is only in charge of the movies and shows, but I would not be shocked if he could somehow control the games to an extent. Now don't get it twisted though, I would love an Injustice game to return, especially if they tone down the keep away and the zoning, since that gets annoying really fast. But plenty of the characters and their gameplay designs in the Injustice games are super fun, and as a result, I would love if Injustice 3 was being worked on right now. I just don't think it's very likely. But now finally, to end this video on a fun note, what would I do? How would I create the next Mortal Kombat game? Honestly, I want tag team to return, and yes, it's going to be default. If you play ranked, then it has to be tag team. You can still play 1v1 in casual mode if you want to. Of course, that's going to be an option, but don't freak out because here comes the cool twist. Even though Combat League will be tag team by default, you can choose to fight with one character if you prefer. It's just not going to affect your opponent's choice. So it would be similar to Tekken Tag 2 and also Skullgirls. For anyone who's never played those games, allow me to quickly explain. If you choose one character instead of two, then your one character gets more health and also does more damage as well. That way things balance out, hopefully, but if it's not strong enough, then maybe you also get an extra bar of meter too. You get the idea. Ranked modes will be tag team by default because the game is designed with tag team in mind. However, if you prefer, you can choose to go online with one character, and that one character gets a damage buff and more meter and also has more health, which once again is similar to Tekken Tag 2 and also Skullgirls. And that pretty much covers the gameplay, but what about the story? As mentioned earlier, I think it would be really cool to combine the past and present timelines together. Liu Kang and the other Titans have damaged reality too much, and now the timelines are bleeding into each other, which means we get classic Scorpion and the new era Scorpion in the same game, and that goes for Sub-Zero as well. You kinda have to do that because a bunch of players are gonna want to play tag team with Sub-Zero and Sub-Zero, or Scorpion and Scorpion. But with that said, not every character would get multiple iterations because the roster would be way too massive. So unless NetherRealm allowed me to reuse assets from Mortal Kombat 1, this would not be possible, which means I'd be picking and choosing the best versions of each character, whichever is more popular among the fans. So for example, we get classic Natara, but the modern Ashura. And you get the idea. I would do my best to pick the favorite versions of each character if I can't do both. But then we have the stages, which would also look really cool because we're merging the different timelines on the same stage. Mortal Kombat 11 actually did this with some stages, but I'd prefer to copy how Mortal Kombat vs. DC did it, where you have two completely different stages that are merged at the center with an amazing contrast. Now, of course, not if every stage is going to look like this because it would be way too cluttered and way too repetitive. Some stages would be normal, just one setting, because you can't have every stage be that complicated and merging both timelines. So of course there would be plenty of normal stages to play on as well. For me personally, that's what I would do if I got to make the next Mortal Kombat game. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, so let me know in the comments what you would do if NetherRealm put you in charge. How would you go about making the next Mortal Kombat game? As for me, that's about it for today's video, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below. It helps the channel out a ton. And if you haven't already, finish that combo by subscribing and ringing that bell so you never miss any future videos. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.